Friendly reminder too, this meeting is being recorded and live streamed. So for all of you who like to put chats and comments in the Zoom box, just know that there could be media there, or it's being recorded, or it's going to be saved in perpetuity. If you're attending virtually, please make sure your name is displayed correctly in order to be counted present and recognized for discussion. Today, we only have one action item, but we are going to use it today as a refresher on how to vote with our Turning Point software. So we're going to go over that today. So for the new Board of Governors members, those that will be here tomorrow, even if you're present today, I want y'all to practice with us today on one of our polling questions, but we'll talk about that later. Again, Q&A is enabled and will be monitored, but if you have a question and do not wish to speak, you may use the Q&A feature and it will be monitored by Damon. And to see or be heard for questions or comments, again, probably not likely something we'll have to deal with today, but for tomorrow, please use the raise your hand feature, and someone will, Kyle and Michael will unmute you and promote you. Also a reminder that only board members are allowed to vote. So that means if you have a green name tag, so for those of you today that are going to get on the board tomorrow, your name tag today should be white. Tomorrow it will be green. And please make sure that you use the same device from start to finish when you are voting. Please try not to jump between your cell phone and your laptop or something like that, because that will mess up the votes. And if you are in person and need help, we have a lot of State Bar staff here that can help you during that voting process. And again, we're going to do a little practice run today to make tomorrow a little bit smoother for our incoming president. That is my gift to you. Thank you. You're welcome. And so with that, I would like to call the Honorable Rebecca Grice up front, and she will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
If you will, please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That was a mic drop. I would like to also now call Amanda Clark Palmer up front to lead us in the invocation.
All right, good morning, everybody. I wanted to use this time to think about the victims of the shootings in Buffalo and Uvalde. And I know just, a couple days ago, there was another shooting at a medical center. And all the other mass murders that are sadly so common that they don't even make the headlines. I know that we all have been thinking about them and their family and their friends and keeping them in our hearts and minds. And so I wanted to read a poem by Sylvan Commons and Rabbi Jack Reimer. At the rising sun and at its going down, we remember them. At the blowing of the wind and in the chill of the winter, we remember them. At the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them. At the blueness of the skies and in the warmth of summer, we remember them. At the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of the autumn, we remember them. At the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember them. As long as we live, they too will live, for they are now a part of us as we remember them. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember them. When we have decisions that are difficult to make, we remember them. When we have joy we crave to share, we remember them. When we have achievements that are based on theirs, we remember them. For as long as we live, they too will live, for they are now a part of us as we remember them. Thank you.
Thank you for that. At this point now, I'd like to recognize our past presidents, judges, and special guests. I am pleased to report that we will have every member of the Supreme Court of Georgia, attending the meeting. We've got Chief Justice David Namias, Presiding Justice Michael Boggs, Justice Nels Peterson, Justice Sarah Hawkins Warren, Justice Charlie Bethel, Justice John Ellington, Justice Carla Wong McMillan, Justice Sean Ella LaGrua, and Justice Verda M. Colvin. And I will point out, though, that the chief will be zooming in today to give his remarks only because he is dropping his son off at college, and he will be here later. On the Court of Appeals, we have Chief Judge Brian Rickman, Vice Chief Judge Amanda Mercier, Presiding Judge Ann Barnes, Presiding Judge Stephen Dillard, Presiding Judge Chris McFadden, Judge Trent Brown, Judge Elizabeth Gobeil, Judge Treya Pipkin, and Judge Andrew Penson. For past presidents, we have Bill Barwick, Bobby Chastain, Jim Elliott, Don Jones, George Mundy, Daryl Sutton, Hal Daniel, and Ken Shigley. And also, we will have zooming in with us Attorney General Chris Carr, and here live and in person, we have David Dove from the office, the governor's office. Please join me in thanking them for coming and their attendance. Now we are going to recognize the retiring executive committee members and retiring board members. All right. Miss Dawn M. Jones, please join me. Dawn M. Jones is immediate past president, and she served 12 years on the board. Now we have Bert Hummel, immediate YLD past president, 3 years on the board. Norbert D. Bert Hummel IV. Is Austin Jones here? I'm not sure. Well, we recognize him for 2 years on the board. We've got Foy Devine from Atlanta, post 18, 34 years on the board. Is Foy here? I don't know if you've heard of him before. His name's Mike Terry. He served 10 years on the board. Mike, where are you? Savor this moment. As one would. Terrence Croft, 22 years on the board. Carol Clark. She served for 10 years on the board. Don't run off the board. Oh, thank you. Sutton Connolly, 4 years on the board. Is Sutton here? He's not. Okay. Josh Bozen, 2 years on the board. Your mom and dad will be so happy. And then we have Christopher Frank West, 6 years on the board. Is he here? All right. Okay, we'll just celebrate him. And then Amy Howe, 14 years on the board. I don't believe Amy could make it. All right. Now what you've all been waiting for, Ivy Cadle will call the roll.
This is the last opportunity I have to come before you to present 5 wonderful pieces of paper that are always hard to get back. So as you know, we take the roll. We're really excited to have so many people at this meeting and to see everybody back again here at Amelia Island. We have 5 different packages that I'm going to pass out that offer you the opportunity to sign them. I need you to be proactive in both passing this along to someone who may be far away and making sure that you find it such that you have the opportunity to sign it. Also, the preparation of the roll and the board book is a manual process, as you can see from the paper, and sometimes it is not perfectly accurate. So I again remind you to check the record of your attendance that you can find in the board book to make sure that it is accurate. And if it is not, I ask that you email me. So with that, I will pass out our roll. I want you to exercise your duties, both to pass it on and to find one, and we'll get this done. Thank you. I just trying to make sure we got accurate records.
I don't know if that foreshadows the length of his meetings, but prayers lifted to y'all. If you will turn to pages 22 and 23 in your board book, you will see the future meeting schedule. Now, the moment we've all been waiting for, we are going to practice using our Turning Point software. So this is the same software for you Board of Governors members that have been on the board this year that we've used all year. For you new Board of Governors members, I do encourage you to go and download the software. And you can practice with our practice question. So we are going to have one practice question and then we are going to vote on the minutes. So I'm going to give everybody a minute. What's the session? Yeah. What's the session code? I'm sorry. The code is Friday, BOG. This is why we practice. Hey, it's doing, for me, it's doing the first name, last name email. Oh yeah, I have to do that. I have to do that. Okay, right to verify. When you log in, then you should see the annual meeting brochure image. That means you successfully gotten in. So we are going to launch our practice question. Again, this is to make Sally's life a lot easier tomorrow. Can we do the practice one? Hot topics. What is your favorite color? You must choose from these choices. If we're using a clicker, how can we tell if it's? It just yeah, so apparently if you're using a clicker, it flashes, and that's how you know your vote has been accepted on this hot topic. And I do hope that the new Board of Governors members at least tried to practice with it, but if not, we'll get it tomorrow. All right, can you launch the results? Whoa. There you go, blue one. All right, with that very important piece of practice done, any other questions before we turn to the sole action item we have today? I know. This is again Ivy Cadle's time to shine. I would like to bring him up front to talk about the minutes of the 291st meeting of the Board of Governors.
It is my honor to bring to you the sole action item for the meeting today. The good news is that I think the sole action item on the meeting, I've proofread them and I'm very strong on them. And those are the minutes that you can find on pages 24 through 27 of your board book. And we now seek approval of the minutes. Should there be no corrections? He said, hopefully.
Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve.
I hear a motion and a second. Any discussion on said minutes? All right, can you launch the question, the polling question? Reminder, only current Board of Governors members can vote on this hot topic. We are going to close the polling question in 5 seconds. There you go. Motion passes. Thank you. And again, we always appreciate people voting against it to test the software. So you got to go with me here on this. First, I've got to adjourn the 292nd Board of Governors meeting and call to order now the plenary session of the membership of the State Bar of Georgia, and we'll turn to our awards and presentations. First, it's my honor to recognize this year's award recipients. There are many dedicated and talented volunteers who contribute so much time to the State Bar of Georgia and to the Georgia legal community. We have numerous awards to present today, and in the spirit of keeping to our program time, however, I'm going to ask that you refer to your printed program for a complete description of each award. There are also awards listed in the program that won't be presented today, but please take the time to read those as well. So now Justice Charlie Bethel has joined us, and I'd like to ask Nikki Vaughn and Ira Foster to join me at the podium for the presentation of the Juvenile Law and Child Advocacy Awards, sponsored by the Committee on Justice for Children of the Supreme Court of Georgia, the Child Protection and Advocacy Section of the State Bar of Georgia, and the Office of Child Advocate of Georgia. Nikki. Okay. Let y'all take the podium. Do you have your script? Oh, and here's Nikki too.
Thank you, President Fight. It is a distinct privilege to present two awards this morning named for two jurists who care deeply about the state of the law and about children and their interaction with the law and our courts. Presiding Judge Willie Lovett Jr., who we lost in 2017, and Chief Justice Harris Hines, who we lost in 2018. First, I would like to recognize There's no secret in all of these. Everyone who's traveled down knows they're being recognized. So I would like to recognize Katie Ham. And Katie, if you'll make your way forward, I saw you earlier. If you'll make your way forward, for Katie Ham is a DFACS case manager winner. And I want to just make a couple of comments. I know we're going to keep the timeline, President, but a couple of comments that came from the nomination records from a guardian ad litem in the court. Ms. Ham deserves more than an award. She deserves the gratitude of us all. And I think that it's important for us to remember when we look at the folks that work in this field, that it's easy to get busy in the work that you do. But for the individuals that we see, like in the rest of our law practice, this may be their one interaction with the court system or with the law. And continuing on, another guardian ad litem said, there has not been a problem, a crisis, or an issue that Katie did not resolve with professionalism, diligence, and grace. And so to honor our timeline, I've got plenty of comments. I'm going to share those with Katie later, but I want to recognize Katie Ham as our Advancing the Field of Juvenile Law winner for this year. Congratulations. Slide over here.
From Mama Caddy. I got you.
For our Outstanding Advocacy for Children and Dependency Award, Jennifer Klein, if you will make your way. I saw Jennifer this morning as well to the front. And likewise, I just want to highlight a couple of comments that were made by folks that work with Jennifer. First, from the Chief Judge of the Rockdale County Juvenile Court, Judge Wood, said this: Jennifer is a fierce litigator and is always prepared. She's well respected amongst her peers, and the relationship she has built with the other attorneys who work in our court has been key to our ability to run an efficient and trauma-informed courtroom. The Rockdale County DFACS Director, this is a great quote if you want to be recognized as a great attorney. Jennifer uses her case law to support her arguments when advocating for the agency's position, but she does not hesitate to counsel us when our desired outcome is not supported by the law. In addition to a lot of wonderful quotes about her work, I think it's important that we appreciate the role of lawyers in counseling clients who may desire something that the law doesn't allow. That is not always an easy thing to do. And again, in recognition for your distinguished service in Rockdale County and beyond, I want to congratulate you as our Harris Hines winner for this year.
Also say we have the Judge Willie Lovett Award for advancing the field of juvenile law. The Judge Willie Lovett Award for advancing the field of juvenile law is presented by the Child Protection Advocacy Section in partnership with the Committee on Justice for Children in the Supreme Court. And it's given to a lawyer or judge who is a member of that section who devotes his or her practice to advancing the field of juvenile law. This award is named in memory of Judge Lovett, again, whom we lost. And this year's award is presented to Donald Lee, staff attorney with the Gwinnett County Juvenile Court's Guardian Ad Litem program. Donald, if you're here. The Chief Justice Thomas O. Marshall Professionalism Award, sponsored by the Bench and Bar Committee of the State Bar of Georgia and selected by all living past bar presidents, honors one lawyer and one judge who have continued to demonstrate the highest professional conduct and paramount reputation for professionalism. The recipients of the 21st Annual Chief Justice Thomas O. Marshall Award, Professionalism Awards are for Judge, the Honorable Walton Stevens, Superior Court, Western Judicial Circuit in Athens. Judge Stevens, if you come forward. We got you a puzzle. It's dangerous.
It's heavy.
And be careful.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you. Of course. Seriously. And for lawyer, we have Ben Easterlin of Atlanta. Special award. Here, I'm gonna- All right, I'd like to ask Susan Coppage, Executive Director of Georgia Legal Services Program, to come up for a special presentation. For those of you who don't know, Susan came on board as GLSP's new executive director on May the 16th, succeeding Rick Ruffalo, who announced his retirement in November. She joins GLSP from Crevlin and Horst, where she served as of counsel in the litigation practice. And before joining Crevlin and Horst, Susan ran the Atlanta office of Nardello and Company, a global investigations firm. She is a former U.S. ambassador at large and assistant U.S. attorney for the Northern District of Georgia. Susan, welcome to your first State Bar annual meeting.
Good morning.
And it's a nice one too, because this year, the State Bar of Georgia raised $619,393 during the 2021 and Justice for All campaign for Georgia Legal Services Program. And we'd like to present Susan with this check as a symbol of our dedication to supporting the work of GLSP.
Thank you. Thank y'all.
All right, I'd like to acknowledge our corporate sponsor and present them with a plaque of appreciation. We are very thankful for their support, which helps make meetings like these possible. Please take the time to show your appreciation and visit with them in the exhibit hall. Our 5 gavel sponsor is Member Benefits with Susan Treyfree. All right, moving on to our local and voluntary bar activities. For ease of presentation, the bars and individuals who will be receiving awards will receive all awards at the same time. So local bars are eligible to receive the following awards for their work throughout each bar year. The Thomas R. Burnside Jr. Excellence in Bar Leadership Award. It honors an individual for a lifetime of commitment to the legal profession and the justice system in Georgia through dedicated service to a voluntary bar, practice bar, or specialty bar, or other area of practice. The awards of merit are given to voluntary bar associations for their dedication to improving relations among local lawyers and devoting endless hours to serving their communities. The Law Day Award of Achievement is presented to local and voluntary bar associations that best plan law day activities in their respective communities to commemorate this occasion. The Best New Entry Award is presented to recognize the excellent efforts of those voluntary bar associations that have entered the Law Day or Award of Merit competitions for the first time in 4 years. We also have a newsletter award. It's presented to local and voluntary bars that provide the best informational sources to their membership. The website award is given to local and voluntary bar associations with websites that exemplify excellence and usefulness, ease of use, content, and design in meeting the needs of the website's targeted audience. The President's Cup Award is a traveling award presented annually to the local or voluntary bar association with the best overall program. So I am going to present the local and voluntary bar awards today in alphabetical order. The Atlanta Bar Association is the recipient of the Best Newsletter Award. I believe we have Jordan Coleman here. This is more sturdy than the other award. The Cobb County Bar Association is the recipient of the Law Day Award, and I believe Carol Kinsel is here to accept. Oh, that's Sue. Okay. Said it's Sue Hong. I know. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. The Georgia Association of Black Women Attorneys is the recipient of the Award of Merit and the President's Cup Award, and I believe Miracle Rankin is here to accept. You should have brought somebody else. There you go.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. Got it. Good. The Georgia Association of Women Lawyers is the recipient of the Best Website Award and the Best New Entry Award. I believe Tina Folsom is here to accept. Congratulations. There's one. Okay. Yes, there you go. The Glenn County Bar Association is the recipient of the Award of Merit. I believe Amanda Zaccoli is here to accept. Thank you. And finally, the Gwinnett County Bar Association is the recipient of the Law Day Award. Laura Walsh, I believe. Congratulations again to all of our local and voluntary bars for your work over the last year. We also have section awards, and they are presented to outstanding sections for their dedication and service to their areas of practice and for devoting endless hours of volunteer effort to the profession. This year's Section of the Year recipient is the Privacy and Technology Section Law. I think it's Privacy and Technology Law section. Is anyone here from the section? I don't think so. So congratulations, though. The section award of achievement goes to the equine law section. If there's anyone from the section present. Congratulations to them. And then the health law section, section awards of achievement also go to the health law section and the taxation law section. Is there anyone from those sections here? Congratulations to our sections. We want to recognize one other retiring member of the board who retired in the middle of the year and, network outages. Susan Cox has served 22 years on the Board of Governors, and we wanted to especially recognize her and say thank you. So Susan, please come forward. We can all give you a round of applause. Thank you, Susan. Sorry about that.
Getting almost as many steps as I think this week.
We are really rocking and rolling today. Well, distinguished guests, friends, colleagues, there it is, and keyboard warriors. My name is Elizabeth Veit, and I'm the 59th president of the State Bar of Georgia. And I'll tell you that while some moments seem to last for an eternity, usually EC nomination speeches, a year as State Bar president can go by in the blink of an eye. And it seems like only yesterday that I was sworn in. I stand before you today to express my gratitude for a fantastic year and to recount to this board but a mere fraction of the things that your bar has done for you this year. But first, I'd like to express some gratitude. I'd like to recognize Dawn Jones and Bert Hummel on their last day on the dais. They have served this organization well by remaining true to themselves and leading during a time that, to put it mildly, wasn't as enjoyable as they had hoped. Yet through it all, they led with their hearts and they led with conviction. And at the end of the day, that's all really any of us can do in this position. Also, I'm going to miss seeing Bert's face behind me when I look at the Jumbotron. I'd like to also thank the State Bar staff for their partnership with me over the years. Many of us have actually grown up together, and there are too many to name, but I can say that they give their heart and soul to make meetings like this and our programs a success. So please join me in thanking them. And I don't know if you've heard this before, but lawyers can sometimes be demanding. And our staff often bear the brunt of our members' frustrations. And as the sole email address that was publicly available for some of the month of May, I encourage us all as a profession to do better when we talk to other people. I'd also like to thank my friends and family for their support over the years and for acting as a sounding board for lots of my hopes and my concerns and my dreams for the bar, especially when you truly had no interest in this organization other than my enthusiasm for it. And I'd like to thank the members of this profession and this board who believed in me and encouraged me this year. And when I started this year, I told you I didn't have a pet project or key initiative I wanted to launch. Instead, I just wanted to help educate our members. We spend a lot of time talking to the public about what we do and why we do it, but I wanted to talk to our members about what their bar dues are doing for them. And so we launched or kicked off the Know Your Bar campaign. And in Know Your Bar, I discussed law practice management. It provides tools you need to run a firm, a law office, a law department. We talked about the sudden health crisis and succession planning portal, which is a resource to aid your clients and honestly, your family and your loved ones in the event you become unable to practice. We talked about Rely a Guide, a way to find other lawyers and actually a way to promote yourself that's provided again as part of your bar dues. And today, briefly, I am going to talk about the Client Assistance Program of the Office of General Counsel. We call it CAP internally. So CAP is a program that was actually launched in the mid-90s. And it was really one of the first in the nation and one that other bars have actually modeled themselves on. And it is often the only face that the members of the public can see of the bar sometimes. And it actually resolves all informal complaints and then formal grievances related to communication issues between lawyers and clients. And so I encourage you that if CAP ever calls you, that you answer that call and respond, because somebody is speaking your name to the bar. The Client Assistance Program, just so you understand the scale and magnitude, the Client Assistance Program last year fielded 9,600 complaints, 11,000 phone calls. It is a very active division of the bar. And just because I wanted to put it in perspective for some of you who practice in certain areas, and I'm sure you've received complaints, but it's about a third is in criminal cases. You see about 16% in domestic cases, and then general civil lit. And so it's important for y'all to understand that CAP's goal is to help facilitate communication, often when things have gone off the rails with a client. And as a result, CAP is often able to resolve up to 80% of the complaints that it receives. So again, thank CAP for existing. And if they ever call you, you should take that call. And just briefly wanted to show you the staff. There we go. So it's led by Mercedes Ball. She's a lawyer, and then it's got paralegals and staff. So if you ever hear from them, if any of those names ever call you again, I encourage you to follow up. Now, that's just some of what the bar offers this year. I didn't even touch on Fast Case, Use Your Six, the Lawyer's Assistance Program, the bar building, our satellite offices. Those are all the things that your bar does for you. And at the risk of being, I'll say, too on the nose, there's nothing that highlights the value of the bar, like taking the bar's website down for a few moments. At the outset of the bar year, I had wanted to revamp the bar's website, and you can definitely be careful what you wish for. And I've characterized the month of May as the most intense focus group with the greatest numbers of participants that we could ever do to learn what our members need the most. And what I've learned is that the members need us. They need the bar. And so in addition to this education piece that we worked on this year, we've done so much more, and it's too much to name. But again, I'm just going to endeavor to give you a more complete picture of some of the things we've done this year. And everything that we've done was with an eye towards the future, realizing that we have certain guardrails in place as a mandatory bar. So we did a lot of internal housekeeping this year with various policies and rules. We've updated our elections process with the elections committee's help. We've updated the executive committee and officer reimbursement policy, which we'll discuss tomorrow, but it was designed to allow more people to participate. We've updated internal policies and procedures considering the challenges faced by mandatory bars. We've honored the strategic plan by drafting a closeout memo that's in your board book. After years of debate and discussion, we concluded, for now at least, the vote on PLI and the Client Security Fund. The Office of General Counsel Oversight Committee worked to develop a plan and a framework in anticipation of our General Counsel, Paula Frederick's retirement. We beta tested an executive director review process that consists of a self-evaluation by our executive director, a peer review, and then comments from the Personnel Committee. We nurtured and grew our relationships with all branches of government. We created avenues for continuity of leadership by increasing the dialogue between the officers they're coming into office, hopefully to make less steep the learning curve associated with running an organization such as this. We encourage members to run for office, both within the bar framework and under the Gold Dome, and we help to educate them on ways how they could do it. We encourage young lawyers to stay involved with the bar, and that's a topic that was near and dear to my heart because it's hard often to bridge that gap between being involved in the YLD and making the transition into the big bar as a whole. We structured committees for growth and to be more representative of our community as a whole. We continue to be fiscally conscientious and good stewards of bar dues. We raised awareness of the importance of an unallocated cash policy and a potential look again at our reserve policy. We invited comments early on for a potential revamp of the advertising rules by not only telling this board, but also specifically inviting stakeholders such as GTLA, GDLA, and GACTL to comment early to make for a more efficient process. We use technology to allow people to participate in meetings and to get more accurate vote counts. But I'll say that while hybrid meetings are great and were needed, I encourage you all to continue to attend meetings in person. There is simply no substitute for the debate, the discussion, the camaraderie that comes with an in-person meeting. And for our members, we've had some emotional talks about sudden health crisis, mental health, and suicide prevention. Please use the resources the bar has for you. We have so many resources to help you. Use your SICK, sudden health crisis portal, lawyers assistance program, the wellness committee, the suicide prevention committee. Also, please encourage those in your network. Tell them about these resources that we have available. We talked about the value of mentorship and civility and their importance to our profession. We've presented awards, we've congratulated members in their communities on their successes, and we have mourned with them for the loss of loved ones. We had countless section meetings and committee meetings. We traveled across the state to engage and interact with local bar associations. Personally, I've learned that when you travel around the state and make the effort to meet other people in their communities, you not only gain a greater understanding of that community's needs and who they are, but you can also walk away with some really good jams and jellies, really good. But I do seriously encourage all of you to, I know everyone has time commitments, but maybe this next year you just say, I want to visit another local bar association's meeting. See what it's like for them. There's nothing like meeting people in their homes. We had EC meetings outside of Atlanta, inviting local bar associations to attend so that our members across the state knew how much we valued them. We participated in law day programs. We had an excellent legislative session with little surprises, which is truly a feat for a legislative program. The bar is well represented by Christine, Rusty, Mark, and Roy. And I think that this year their teamwork was superb. And I'll say that doing the legislative work of an organization such as ours is not easy. Balancing the very personal interests our members have in certain pieces of legislation with our larger framework as a mandatory bar can be a challenge. And our legislative team is often the focus of ire for our members because they are following the will of this body. The votes that we take in this room, they then have to carry that out. So as a result, they too could use some understanding and appreciating for enduring that which many of us do not. We've navigated server and website outages, which you will hear about in greater detail tomorrow during the executive director report. We have laughed, we have cried, we have made some people mad, we have made some people happy, but more importantly, we let everyone know that they were valued. The list could continue, but I am on pace to get this meeting over early for everybody, and I continue to do that. So I've told you some of the things that the bar has done, so what about me? Cue tears. I grew as a person. I supported an organization that I loved. I tried so mightily to listen more than I talked. Yet I still was aware that I needed to use this platform to help educate people. I have endeavored to provide a space for people to feel heard and valued by this organization. And I found so many friends on this journey, those whom I would have never met, and some who are like my family now. So, going forward, I know this organization is in great hands. I'm excited about the leadership to come. And I'm excited about the diversity of perspective that our new leaders have. I look forward to hearing from Sally tomorrow about what she has planned to do, and I intend to support her in any way that she needs me to support her. But I'm going to use my last few moments to tell you what I intend to do going forward, and realizing that I would probably get this way. I'm borrowing lines from somebody else. So what am I going to do? I'm never going to give you up. I'm never going to let you down. I'm never gonna run around and desert you. I'm never gonna make you cry, maybe. I'm never gonna say goodbye. I'm never gonna tell a lie and hurt you. Thank you so much. God bless you. God bless the State Bar of Georgia. Thank you. So he's on now. Okay. Ooh, did it. Up next, I believe wearing a Duke jersey, so sorry for you UNC fans out there. We have the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, David Nonis.
Well, thank you, Elizabeth. Good morning, everybody. You're a tough act to follow. Hopefully everybody can see and hear me. I'm sorry that I can't be with you in person this
Chief, I don't think we
morning.
can hear you yet. Hold on one second.
Let's see.
We see you.
Yeah. Can you hear me all right now?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. I'm sorry I can't be with you this morning in person. And Elizabeth, you're a tough act to follow. I'm actually not in our courtroom in Atlanta, but rather in a hotel room in Durham, North Carolina, where I'm dropping off my son Stephen to start playing football at Duke University. I'll fly down there this evening and hopefully get a chance to see many of you tomorrow. I'm glad to report that the Supreme Court of Georgia is in good shape. Since the last annual meeting, we have a new member, Justice Verda Colvin, who joined us from the Court of Appeals. And last week, Justice Colvin, along with Justices Carla Wong McMillan and Justice Sean Ellen LaGrua, won election to a full 6-year term. So congratulations to each of them. In addition, the governor has appointed Judge Andrew Pinson from the Court of Appeals to fill my seat when I leave the court on July 17th. Judge Pinson is known to many of you. He's a talented appellate lawyer and judge, and he'll make an excellent addition to our court. If you're counting, you should note that that means that when I leave, the Supreme Court will have 4 justices who joined in the past 2.5 years, and all 9 justices will have started serving within the past 5.5 years. So it is a very new court, but I have confidence that it'll be well led, particularly when presiding Justice Michael Boggs takes over as Chief Justice and Justice Nels Peterson becomes the presiding justice on July 18th. Our court has maintained full operations even during the worst time of the pandemic, but we realize that just like the Court of Appeals, our cases lag behind the cases being resolved now in the trial courts. We have a reduced caseload now because fewer appeals have been coming to us from trial courts that had to limit operations, particularly jury trials during the pandemic. But as the trial courts return to full operations and add more to try to clear out the backlogs of cases, the full flow of appeals will start coming again to us and may grow larger than ever. So I hope you'll keep in mind that the appellate courts are going to face challenges from the pandemic that stretch further into the future than most other Georgia courts. My colleagues and I have spent a lot of our time and energy over the past 2.5 years managing pandemic-related issues. The most recent challenge came after Governor Kemp allocated $110 million in federal American Rescue Plan Act funds to the judicial branch to be used to help resolve backlog cases, particularly backlogs of serious violent felony cases. I appointed Presiding Justice Boggs to chair a Judicial Council committee to administer these much needed ARPA funds. And working with the committee members and the staff from the Administrative Office of the courts, Presiding Justice Boggs has dedicated literally hundreds of hours to developing and managing this new grant program, which has now awarded more than $43 million to 42 of our judicial circuits for calendar year 2022. That provides significant funds for additional senior judges and pro hoc judges, for more prosecutors and public defenders, court clerks, other court staff, bailiffs, and additional courtroom space. The process for awarding grants for the year 2023 will begin this September. I want to thank everyone involved in this process, particularly Presiding Justice Boggs, for their hard work and their patience as we get this program started. Resolving the backlogs of cases in our courts is an essential component to restoring Georgia's judicial process after the pandemic. So the Supreme Court is in good shape and in good hands, but the main reason I wanted to speak with you this morning is to say thank you. Before I became a justice, I had little interaction with the state bar except paying my dues and fulfilling my CLE requirements. But the interactions I've had over the past 13 years have been one of the highlights of my time on the Supreme Court. Working with the bar's leaders, with the dedicated staff of the bar, with members of the Board of Governors, and with the many lawyers who serve on bar committees of all sorts has given me a deep appreciation for the importance of the State Bar of Georgia to our profession, to the judiciary, and to our state as a whole. And I particularly want to thank Elizabeth Veit and the other officers for their service during my time as Chief Justice. Through this time working together, many of you have also become my good friends. I regret that for much of the past 2 years, the pandemic required us to stop meeting in person as often because the informal interactions and friendships between the justices of the Supreme Court and all the folks who attend these meetings supports our formal work together, just as the social and friendly interactions generally help maintain the civility of our profession as we often deal in sometimes adversarial ways. I'm so glad you're meeting in person today, and I look forward to joining you tomorrow. I'll let you return to your agenda now. Sometimes these meetings I've found are not very exciting, but I hope you always remember that the work you're doing is important. It's important to the bar and the judiciary and the state, and I hope you'll continue to do it well as I resume my role as simply another proud member of the State Bar of Georgia. So I'm going to end with this because it's a good way to end. Go Blue Devils, and of course, go to hell, Carolina. Thank you all.
When that gets in the paper. Now I'd like to call forward the Honorable Judge Brian Rickman. He is the Chief Judge of the Court of Appeals of Georgia.
I was about to say that what a privilege it is. I never thought in my career I would be following David Namias, and then I thought, well, somebody may shout out, neither did we. Anyway, a little self-deprecation. I want to say thank you to the entire bar staff, to the leadership, to all of you for the hospitality you've shown our judges, for the kindness and generosity. This is a great event. Thank you for the time that you dedicate. I'd like to do two things. First, give you a few updates on the Court of Appeals, in particular, some rules changes that as practitioners you should be aware of. And then if you allow me, share just a few words about what we all do. Some rules changes that are already effective. In case you missed them, I would call your attention to Rule 28A4, oral argument. In our rule, some of you already know this, but we have placed a statement in addition to the reasons for granting oral argument, which can include the establishment of precedent, the merits. We added some time back that a statement that granting oral argument would further the development of a newer attorney will be taken into consideration. I hope that each of you as practitioners recognize this for what it is. That is a statement by all of the judges of our court who all work together collaboratively. And I hope it reflects that oral argument to us is not just about us, and that advocacy matters, and that you may request oral argument, not just for our benefit, but for the benefit of the bar. I hope that that's meaningful to you. I hope you will take advantage, and I hope that you see that for what it is, as a reflection of our belief that oral advocacy matters. Do not buy into the cynical position that oral argument, the question I get most asked when we go off is, does oral argument even matter? The answer is, it absolutely does. And when we ever think that advocacy doesn't matter, we really shouldn't be doing what we're doing, right? Amen. I'm turning into John Ellington now. In Rule 9H, we added our own student practice section for law students. Our colleagues on the Supreme Court regulate the practice of law, but we have added a student practice ability so that if you qualify under the Supreme Court's rule, you can practice in our court. And again, hope that that reflects, I know it's important to all of you in this room, a desire on our part to foster the development of the practice of law and not just to make all of this about us. Coming July 1st, 2022, rules that have been approved by our bank, all of our judges collectively working together. Special thanks to Judge Elizabeth Gobeil, seated over here, who is our rules chair, who shepherded these through. If you had the opportunity to see Justice Namias's investiture, or when I had an investiture, you will recall we both made statements about the pandemic and about the following. In the practice of law, what do we keep after the pandemic? Not everything that we've learned has been terrible. I hope we're all in agreement with that. I know many lawyers who talk about how they don't miss not having to drive 6 hours for one status conference. We have put our money where our mouth is, and beginning July 1st, 2022, the opportunity for you to request virtual appearances for oral argument will not just be a Band-Aid to get through the pandemic, it will be a fixture at the Georgia Court of Appeals. And of note, what I would like to draw your attention to when that rule is published, acceptable reasons include, but are not limited to, health concerns, budgetary constraints, and time constraints. Ladies and gentlemen, what that means is that if you have a situation where perhaps you practice in South Georgia, it would require you to be gone and you can make it to a parent's medical appointment, to a kid's activity, or another court appearance. Those are all legitimate reasons to ask to appear virtually that we can consider. Again, that is for the benefit of your clients. That is for the benefit of you. That is something that we think as trial judges are considering the same issues that we feel is important to lead by example and to put our money where our mouth is. And I hope that is a positive development and hope that you will take advantage of it. Rule 25 briefs, that has been significantly streamlined. Again, thank you to all of our judges, in particular, Judge Gobeil and Judge Pinson, for working on that one. I won't go item by item. You will see it on July 1st. We are redesigning our website. I know you've been hearing that for quite some time, but we are making progress. Thank you for all of your suggestions. We're trying to make our opinions easier to get to, more streamlined, and make that website more functional for you. We recently evaluated, we had a committee chaired by Judge Sarah Doyle that evaluated the costs we charge for everything to try to make sure we're in line, to try to make sure we know that cost is an issue for you and your clients. Going back to the virtual oral arguments, one reason that could be cited, for example, is simply budgetary constraints. If you have, say, an indigent client, you're practicing in South Georgia, it will be a legitimate reason to say, look, I represent an indigent client and I can't afford to spend $600 to $800 to go spend the night in Atlanta. And we hope that that's positive. To echo, one more thing. There are conversations going on between our court and our Supreme Court colleagues about how to streamline both our rules and our style to get them as close as possible to make that easier on you so that you're not having to learn two different sets of rules in intricate detail. And I appreciate our colleagues, including Justice Sarah Warren, being involved in that effort. In 2019, we were at about 222 filings per judge. In 2021, we had fallen to about 172 filings. As you might imagine, the tsunami of cases is now with our trial courts. That will come to us later, but we are taking advantage of the decrease in filings to try to move quicker, plan for the future, and work on projects like the ones you have just heard about. Self-serving as it may, I want to tell you that I'm proud of all my colleagues, all 15 of them, for getting together to pass these unanimously. You cannot accomplish anything at the Georgia Court of Appeals without working together. I hope that these are positive for the practice of law, and I hope you agree. In closing, I would feel remiss if I didn't share a few words with you about what we all do. Lawyers and judges, when I dreamed of becoming a lawyer, I thought about, in many cases, the ability of the law to stand up for what's right. And that's a very simplistic statement, very colloquial, but it's so true. Every generation of lawyers and judges have challenges that they should rise to. And some of those challenges are even greater than what we could face. I did not live through what colleagues of ours like Herbert Phipps did when he was fighting for racial justice, when there were lynchings going on in this country. One of them in my hometown. There was the Broad River Bridge where we used to go as kids, where Colonel Lemuel Penn was murdered in my hometown. That case had a profound impact on me as I learned about it and learned about the Klansmen that were acquitted in my hometown, in the courthouse I drove by every day to go to high school. So I know that our times maybe are perhaps not as challenging as those, but I will tell you this from where I sit as a personal observation. What we are facing is daunting in that the misinformation that is out there. How many of you have had maybe I'm the only one, I hope not, have had the chance to be at a gathering of friends and family and get asked about the latest conspiracy theory from Facebook? I think we have probably all been there. And I was talking to Judge Mercier before today and thinking about what faces our generation. It's my belief, I hope it's your belief, that good lawyers and good judges, courtrooms are where all of the stuff out there, the false information, the conspiracy theories, the bad information, go away, and facts and evidence and law matter, and truth has to be proven. That is what we do every day. And now I believe it's more important than ever. And so I would say to all of you that just by going in courtrooms, the way you conduct yourselves, the way we conduct ourselves, we view this as a partnership between lawyers and jurists and judges. And when we go, do our best to get it right for honest reasons, even though we're imperfect and we get it wrong. I've seen some of you and heard about cases we got wrong. But when we do our best to get it right, we perform a vital function, especially in today's society. And I just want to let you know that on behalf of all 15 of our colleagues, we will do our best to get it right. When we get it wrong, it will be for the right reasons. The right reasons are we honestly just got to a different result. We are in trying times with the things that people will believe out in society, and it crosses all political boundaries and it crosses all beliefs. But as lawyers and judges, this should be our time, and our time should be about facts, actual evidence, and law. And when you come into those courtrooms, all of the other stuff, so to speak, goes away, and it's time for proof to be put up, and it's time for honest women and men to do the best they can. And I think that is the challenge of our generation with the social media we face. I thank you for your time. I've never had the opportunity to address the bar. It's been a privilege. Thank you for what you do, and look forward to seeing you more.
Well, we are so ahead of schedule that some of the people that we're going to remote in are not quite ready for us just yet. So I'm going to move on the agenda to the office of Governor Brian Kemp. We have David Dove, who's going to bring us remarks.
Good morning. It's great to be with everyone here today. I'm David Dove, Executive Counsel to Governor Kemp. And we actually also have Evan Myers and Kristen Long here as well, who are Deputy Counsels to Governor Kemp as well. I appreciate Chief Judge Brian Rickman bringing up conspiracy theories. We've actually never heard those in the governor's office. Man, what a last 12 months. It's an honor for me to bring greetings from the governor here today. As I stand before you, obviously, and reflecting on the fact that this is an election year and that this may be one of the last opportunities that you all get to hear an update from the executive branch that's not overly politicized or overly attacked in some way, as those political narratives tend to go. And I say that because it reminds me of a conversation that I had with my friend and our president, Elizabeth Fight, a couple of weeks ago at lunch. And we were discussing the importance of this gathering, the importance of us coming together as a profession to acknowledge the work that lawyers have done across the state over the last year. And it's important because we're a profession that is called to public service, and we're yoked with the responsibility of upholding the higher values that our nation was founded on, including the rule of law, which has been challenged by these conspiracy theories that Chief Judge Rickman mentioned. And so it's how important is this that we get to come together and do that in this setting together as a group of professionals. So in that vein, I want to thank the bar. I want to thank particularly the legislative staff, Christine, Roy, Mark, Rusty. They are an invaluable resource for the governor, for the governor's office and staff to help keep us informed on the issues that are prevalent in the bar and help provide guidance on the decision making. I want to thank Damon for his friendship, one that's blossomed over a mutual love of barbecue. I just really appreciate the work that this organization does to support elected leaders in the state. Thinking about how far we've come, last year during this gathering, I was able to announce that our public health state of emergency was coming to an end at the end of COVID. We're actually in our third iteration of a state of emergency now dealing with COVID. After the public health state of emergency, we moved into a state of emergency for economic recovery that helped provide an undergirding through regulatory suspensions that helped shore up Georgia's economy as we continued to move out of the pandemic. And now we've moved even further to a smaller state of emergency that is solely focused on global supply chain, which has allowed the state to maintain some of these regulatory suspensions, but also included in that with the cooperation of the General Assembly, having the suspension of our motor fuel gas tax, which, as I was reminded this morning as I was reading, Georgia enjoys the lowest average gallon of gas price in the nation currently. And so we're appreciative of the support that we've had to do that. But it's hard to imagine that we would come as far as we have when we were in the depths of the pandemic in 2020. Wage growth has grown 4% since the summer of 2020 in Georgia. We're at 3.1% unemployment, which is a record low. And in the last 6 months, the governor's been able to announce two record-breaking economic development announcements for our state with the investment of Rivian in Walton County, as well as just recently with Hyundai investing in the Bryan County mega site near Savannah. These are going to provide thousands and thousands of jobs to Georgians across our state as the supply chain moves here, which is going to be a great way to help move our state forward. And in that economic development, we've seen record tax digest for the state. And with the work with our friends in the General Assembly, and particularly Chairman Blake Tillery, we were able to pass a budget this past year that fully funded a teacher pay raise, not only for the upcoming year, but also retroactively funding that pay raise for last year, effectively giving teachers a bonus at the end of this past school year. That same budget also included over $1 billion of tax refunds back to Georgia taxpayers. And so we're very excited for that. We've also seen an uptick in crime since the pandemic, but the state, we can be proud, has met that with a balanced approach. In addition to the investment that we've made in law enforcement salaries, as well as technology and training upgrades, we've enhanced interagency cooperation to target street gangs, especially with the GBI and Director Vic Reynolds. And we've stiffened penalties for street racing and violent crimes. But in addition to that, particularly with the leadership of Chairman Chuck F. Strachan, Georgia has also passed a hate crimes bill that has enhanced penalties for those convicted of hate crimes. And for the first time in 150 years, Georgia no longer has a citizen's arrest statute on the books. Notably, also within public safety, we've renewed our fight against human trafficking in our state. Since 2019, we've passed over a dozen bills that help survivors receive the benefits that they need from the state, as well as providing more stiff penalties for traffickers and enhance law enforcement capabilities to detect and eradicate this pandemic in our state. Most notably, this past session, Chairman Brian Strickland passed a bill that improved upon the vacature statute that First Lady Marty Kemp championed in 2020. And now survivors of human trafficking will have a dedicated fund source to receive reimbursement for cost of convictions resulting from them having been trafficked. And likely you all have also heard of the advancements that we made in the overhaul of our mental health service delivery strategy through Speaker Ralston's House Bill 1013, which is an omnibus piece of legislation that was advanced following the recommendations of the Georgia Behavioral Health Reform and Innovation Commission. Now, there was a lot of lawyers involved in that process, not only on the commission, but supporting the commission as well, including Justice Boggs, Judge Brian Amero, Judge Sarah Harris, and Representative Mary Margaret Oliver, she was named earlier this week as chair of the Workforce and System Development Committee. But this bill is going to revolutionize Georgia's service delivery for mental health and begin the process of us better understanding what our system needs to improve in the future. We all heard from Chief Justice Namias recently about the judicial ARPA grant. The governor was proud to announce last year $110 million that's going to alleviate the case backlog that was created through the COVID-19 pandemic in our state. And I know this has been an arduous process to get this money out, but over $44 million has already been awarded of that. And I say, I recognize the arduous process because I know that's not been made any easier by the regulations and the requirements that we have in administering this grant. And I want to thank publicly someone who has been a tremendous advocate for this grant, not only in advocating for the grant's creation, but in also advocating for the funds to be leveraged in a strategic way and a responsible way so that the money can be used to move the needle on case backlog, and that's Justice Michael Boggs. I know he has spent countless hours and many sleepless nights dealing with this. And if any of you have been to his chambers and seen literally the mountains of binders that are stacked up in addition to his case workload, we just really appreciate our partnership with the judiciary as we move to get this money out. I mentioned all of these examples to highlight obviously some of the great things that are going on in our state, but to also highlight the fact that lawyers have been at the heart of all of these efforts. These are not the only individuals that are working in public service, but they're an example of the higher aspiration that binds this group together. The dedication of service to others, the dedication to service to our fellow man. And in that way, the state bar provides something that our world desperately needs right now. In an age of influencers and of outsized celebrity, where we've elevated the persona over the person, it's organizations like these, it's people like you all that are dedicated to public service that are really doing the work that matters in our world. I feel honored that I get to play a small part of that in going to work and advising my client every day, and hopefully in a manner that bends the arc of our state towards something of a better future. But in truth, all of us, regardless of whether we're in government or the courts or in the defense bar or the trial bar or in big firms, small firms, we're all called to that as lawyers to play the role of public service to advance the rule of law, to advance the ideals that improve our society for the benefit of everyone else. And so with that, I challenge you all to join together in this, in bending the arc of our state, bending the arc of our society towards a better future. And I want to thank President Fite for modeling that this past year during her presidency. And I know Sally will continue to do that. But that's what's at the heart of this organization in our view. That's what's in the heart of being a legal professional. And so thank you for having us here today. Appreciate it.
Thank you for that. Now we have from the Office of Attorney General, the Honorable Chris Carr. He will be zooming in. We just lost him. Hold on one second, because I bet he'll be back. Give me just going. Okay, while we reconnect, we do have from the House Judiciary Committee, Representative Chuck Efstration, the chair. He will bring us greetings via Zoom as well.
Well, good morning. It's such an honor to be with all of you today. President Fight, distinguished officers and members of the State Bar of Georgia, thank you for the invitation to address you, to provide an update from the 2022 regular session of the Georgia General Assembly. I have the great honor to serve as chairman of the House Committee on Judiciary, and we had a very productive session this year. I'm sorry that I'm not with you in person due to obligations that I have within my legislative district, but to give you an overview of what legislation was addressed in this legislative session, and to try to not step on too much the excellent overview that we just heard from David Dove about the session. It was a incredibly beneficial year, beginning with Speaker David Ralston's landmark Mental Health Parity Act. This legislation received national attention. It passed unanimously in both the Georgia House of Representatives and the state Senate, and will require that health insurance carrier plans provide coverage for mental health treatment or substance abuse disorders in Georgia. It also will allow for cancelable educational loans for Georgia residents enrolled in educational training for mental health treatment professions, and will create a 3-year assisted outpatient treatment grant program. Additionally, it will create a grant program to fund accountability courts serving the mental health and substance abuse disorder populations in Georgia, and require reporting requirements for DBHDD and DHS. As is frequently heard at the state capitol, the impact in all aspects of state and local government due to mental health issues and the need to have an appropriate response to engagement that our healthcare professionals or law enforcement professionals see in the mental health area is an important area to focus. And I'm so grateful for the leadership of Speaker David Ralston, the Governor Brian Kemp, and all legislators who worked on this, as well as many members of the state bar who participated in this effort. Additionally, thanks to the financial stewardship of the state budget and leading our state through the pandemic, by Governor Brian Kemp and his outstanding leadership, the state budget that was passed this year reflects the priorities of Georgians, and with the leadership of the Georgia General Assembly, prioritizes funding in the areas of education, healthcare, public safety, and transportation. K through 12 education is fully funded from the state budgets that were passed. It includes an educator pay raise, satisfying a $5,000 pay increase over the past few years for Georgia teachers. Additionally, there is a $5,000 raise for all full-time state employees and a $5,000 cost of living adjustment for state retirees. Additionally, the state rainy day fund is in a very strong position to ensure that we have continued financial success throughout any potential downturn or recession in the future. Additionally, in the area of taxpayer relief, there was a suspension of the state gas tax in response to the skyrocketing fuel prices. Tax refunds issued to all Georgia taxpayers, which was $500 for married filing jointly, $375 for taxpayers filing as head of household, and $250 for taxpayers filing as single. Additionally, there was an implementation of a flat income tax, reducing the tax rate to 5.49% and incrementally further reducing it to 4.99%. Now, I would like to tell you about two pieces of legislation that I carried in the 2022 legislative session, which may be of interest to attorneys in Georgia. First of all, I carried legislation to address the Georgia Supreme Court's opinion in Alston and Byrd versus Hatcher Management, which interpreted the state apportionment statute. The legislation that I carried, House Bill 961, which was enacted, provides for evidence of fault of non-parties and allows for the apportionment of damages in single defendant lawsuits. This was viewed as an important piece of legislation by all stakeholders involved, and I'm proud to report that this was a compromise bill with both the House and Senate passing this legislation unanimously. Additionally, I carried legislation to address the gang epidemic in Georgia. Now, there has been an incredible effort to address public safety and protect all Georgians, but it has been estimated that over half of all violent crime in Georgia is gang related, and 14,000 inmates in Georgia's prison system have some sort of gang affiliation. Gangs are often multi-jurisdictional, and the crimes committed require investigators and prosecutors with specialized knowledge. Additionally, there can be an undue burden placed on jurisdictions where prisons are located, otherwise requiring the local district attorney's office to prosecute those gang crimes. House Bill 1134 was passed this year and enacted into law, allowing the Attorney General concurrent jurisdiction alongside local prosecutors to investigate and prosecute crimes related to criminal gang activity. This is important legislation, and I want to thank the leadership, Attorney General Chris Carr for his leadership, ensuring that all Georgians remain safe and that gang crimes will now be prosecuted from the Attorney General's office where necessary to do so. In closing, I want to thank you all for the opportunity to speak to you today. I want to thank President Fite for the invitation and for her leadership of the State Bar of Georgia. If you ever have any recommendations for needed legislation, please do not hesitate to contact the Office of the House Committee on Judiciary. Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, now I'd like, whoa, sorry, everybody. I'd like to call for from the Senate Judiciary Committee, Senator Brian Strickland, Chair.
Good morning. Well, my wife is here with me this morning in the back, and she's not a lawyer, and it's her first ever bar meeting. And before I got up, she leaned over and goes, "You gotta lighten it up a little bit when you go speak." And then when I first got here, I saw David Dove, and I said, "Oh, so you wore a tie and you wore your suit." And I said, "Okay." And I thought, well, illustrations via Zoom, so I'll at least one up him. And no, he's on there with the suit, jacket on, even via Zoom. So y'all stole my speech. You talked about everything that happened during session. You one up me already. But every time I get in front of other lawyers as a lawyer legislator, I kind of give a very similar speech. Some of y'all have heard this before, but I think it's worth repeating. You heard a lot about this past session, some of the great things that we were able to accomplish this past year in particular. Let me talk to you just for a second about the Senate Judiciary Committee itself. I had my admin go back and pull this data for me. This year alone, we had 115 bills assigned to us in the Senate Judiciary Committee. That's 115 bills that deal somehow with the practice of law, whether that be criminal law, something that's constitutional, civil law, something that's in our realm that was assigned to us. And I see Senator Kennedy in the back from the committee. Good morning. I didn't know you were here. And so he knows this very well, all the bills we had to our committee. Of the 115 bills, we passed out 65 bills from our committee. Again, everything dealing with the practice of law somewhere, as Chuck said, apportionment, something like Liz Pendens, what's required in that process, grandparents' visitation rights. There's somebody, I mean, expert witness testimony at trial, all this kind of stuff that you guys deal with in your capacity as judges, as lawyers, every single day in a courtroom. And in all that, those bills then left our committee and then were at some point considered by the 180 House members and 56 senators that serve in each chamber. Here's what I want to bring up when I say all that. In the Senate of 56 senators, there's 8 of us that have law degrees. You go out and ask the general public, they think that almost all 56 of us are lawyers, right? A lot of you already know this, but 8 of 56 have law degrees. I didn't say they all practice law, they have law degrees. In the House of 180 House members, 25 have law degrees. It's 25 of 180 and 8 of 56. I say that to say, I don't believe that any of us think that every senator should be a lawyer, every House member should be a lawyer. The great thing about the General Assembly, we're part-time. We all either retired or we all have day jobs that we work outside those 3 months of the General Assembly. And it's great. We have people from all over the state, teachers, we have accountants, we have business people, all different kind of backgrounds coming together and considering legislation. And that's what makes it such a great process and such a unique process, and that we're part-time. But when you think about those 115 bills that were assigned to this one judiciary committee, bills that affect the practice of law, and the limited number of us that serve that have ever been in a courtroom or ever had any sort of legal education, you start getting the point that I'm trying to make with you all today. I believe that every single member of the bar has an obligation at the General Assembly every single year. Now, you don't have to go and run for office, especially if you live in my district. You don't have to run for office, right? I'm not asking you to do that. You don't have to come up during session and come to one of our committee hearings. So you should come sometime and watch that process. You have a great team that follows everything we do at the state capitol. You get the emails, I get them too. The updates, these bills are being considered right now. These are the bills that pass. You get that through the state bar. And every level of judge has somebody up there representing them. I know I'm sitting with a bunch of judges in the back. Judge Trent Brown, Judge Trey Pipkin from the Court of Appeals come up and deal with issues of the Court of Appeals. Justice Boggs dealing with issues with Supreme Court. You have people there working, representing you and fighting for you. They would all say the same thing I'm telling you right now, though. We need you involved in some capacity. I'm going to challenge you to do this. I'm not going to have you raise your hands because it may embarrass you. It may embarrass me if I'm wrong. But if I were to ask you, how many of you all in this room know who your senator is and who your House member is? Again, don't raise, well, okay, decent amount, raise your hands. The next question is, so at first, at least know who they are, right? At least know who that person is that goes up and deals with legislation that impacts your practice and your clients' cases every single day. At least know who that person is. But second, the big challenge to you, I'm going to challenge you to get the cell phone number of that senator and that House member. It's not that hard to do. Again, we're part-time legislators. We spend 3.5 months in Atlanta. We're back in our districts the rest of the year. I'm going to challenge you to go now, not when you need something, not when there's something pending that affects the practice or something you think we're getting wrong. Now, when you're not asking for anything. That's so rare in our world in politics. When you don't even need something, reach out, build a relationship right now. Let that senator and that House member know what you do for a living, what your expertise is. Every one of y'all in this room has some sort of expertise, whether it's just being a general practitioner, whether, again, you oversee a courtroom somewhere, whether you specialize in a certain area of law, you are an expert in something, and we need your help. More than anything, we need to make sure when we pass a bill and we say that it does this, that it actually does it. We need your help with that. So build that relationship now. Get to know that person now. There's a big obligation we all have as lawyers, right? We have obligations to the Constitution. We have obligations to our clients. We make this process work, right? It's an obligation we all have. There's something bigger than that. You have an obligation to serve your state. One of the great things you can do by serving your state is building a relationship with us, helping us, making sure that we get this process right. So I want to say thank you. Thank you so much for a chance to get to come and share with you all this morning. Thank you for your support of us in session. If you have cases with me, you know the challenge you have when we're in session for 3 months, and I appreciate your patience with us as we go serve in this process. Thank you very much.
We can publish a directory of cell phones. I regret to inform you that the Attorney General, Chris Carr, is unable to send his greetings. He's having some technical difficulties, and he sends his regrets, and he's sorry that he cannot be here, and he thanks all of us for everything that we do. Moving on in the agenda, and we will now have Alyssa Haynes, President of the YLB.
Thank you. It has been one of the biggest honors, I think, in my career and just in my professional life to have served as the 75th president of the Young Lawyers Division. Those who know me know that this year has been a struggle for me. And I'm going to try not to cry, but you know, from the death of my grandfather, who was the last living relative on my dad's side of the family, battling anxiety and depression, managing a book of business, leaving a law firm, starting a new law firm, leading the YLD, and most recently to losing my dog. To quote the Grateful Dead, what a long, strange trip it's been. Towards the end of my presidency year, I often joked that I was the YLD's worst president. And I said that because when I started this journey, I had so many goals for my year, for what I wanted to do. And Elizabeth probably did it right in not having a pet project, but I had so many pet projects. I quickly learned that you just cannot accomplish everything. It's just not possible. But I have always put so much stress on myself, and it's just not reasonable to think that you can do it all. Over the past 4 years, I have grown so much as a person, as a lawyer, and as a leader. And I am so grateful that I've had this platform. And one of the things that I focused on in my year is lawyer mental health. And I'm going to read this email. You know, I always wondered if anybody read the Bar Journal articles, except us, obviously. But I got this email from a lawyer, and I'm just going to read a little bit of it. And it says, you know, I read your column this afternoon, and I'm a 74-year-old retired member of the Atlanta and Georgia bars, now living in Bozeman, Montana. For somebody not so young, for somebody so young, no disrespect intended, you show great insight and you are brave to call out this legal profession for what it is. In addition to being a retired white male attorney, I am also a transgender woman, something I would have never dreamed of revealing when I was last active in practice 15 years ago. But thank God we live in a different world today. Don't despair. A lot of people are listening. I have great hopes for the future and great hopes for you. Continue to speak up, continue to speak often. I've received so many of those emails every time I write a Bar Journal article. And I always wonder, am I being the Debbie Downer? But it really is. It has been so important to me to stress and to voice that people are struggling. I think leaders as a whole are struggling. You know, we are constantly in the spotlight. People look up to us, but we also have our own struggles. And I just hope that people will continue to check up on each other and to talk to each other and just ask how you are doing. So, without focusing on what I didn't accomplish this year, I do want to focus on what the YLD has done during the past 12 months. Last December, several of our members attended the Georgia Pro Bono and Public Interest Award ceremony at the Glen Hotel, and I had the privilege of accepting the Georgia Legal Services Program Award to the YLD to honor our 50-year partnership and the YLD's commitment to serving the community and the profession. This past December, we also launched the Lunch and Listen initiative. My dad had passed away 22 years ago, and the holidays were always a difficult time for me. And I know they're a difficult time for many others. So I asked young lawyers to take another young lawyer who they didn't know out to lunch, out to coffee, just to talk to them, to check in, see how they were doing, and to send me a picture of it and hashtag it Lunch and Listen. And that took off and it went throughout the year. And I was so proud of that. The YLD was also fortunate to be able to resume in-person programming this year, and our committees hit the ground running, and we had amazing programs. The litigation committee hosted a virtual CLE with corporate counsel for TrueLeave, one of the largest cannabis companies in the world. The Women in the Profession committee hosted several lunch and learn programs, including working with witnesses and survivors of sexual assault, personal branding for young lawyers, and several lunch and learns with justices and judges. Our workers' compensation committee hosted several lunch and learns. The Inclusion in the Profession Committee launched a Big Brothers Big Sisters initiative with the Atlanta chapter of Big Brothers and Big Sisters of America. Our Government Law Committee hosted a timely seminar on making sense of public service loan forgiveness. And the Corporate Counsel Committee hosted a peek behind the curtain, an intimate conversation with in-house counsel. We also had 51 applications for the Public Interest Internship Program this year. And I'm pleased to report that we were able to grant 5 awards, one extra from last year's 4 awards. Leadership Academy also was a great success. We were finally able to be back in person, and we combined the 2 Leadership Academy classes, so the class of 2021 and the class of 2022. We had a record number of government and other public service lawyers also join the Leadership Academy, which I was really proud of, because those are typically the people who are unable to participate, whether due to cost or otherwise. And so I'm very glad that we were able to offer more sponsorships for them and to get them involved. Also, after a 2-year hiatus, I was thrilled to bring back the signature fundraiser, and I see that several of you were also in attendance there. And I'm also proud to report that we were able to raise over $10,000 for Kate's Club. So while I may not have accomplished everything on my presidential agenda, I can confidently look back at the past 12 months with an incredible amount of joy and pride. I think one of my opposing counsel said it best: you will find your own way. Just make sure to put your physical and mental health first and give yourself a little bit of grace. So thank you to all of you for helping me find my way, and it's been a pleasure to serve you. Thank you.
You did good. You did good. Okay, with that, this is the time when we honor those that we have lost in our profession this year. In the program, on pages 30 and 31, you will see a list of people. As we all know, with some recent events, that list is not updated. It is as of a few weeks ago when it went to printing. We know we've lost other lawyers in the meantime. So at this point, I'd like you to just take a look at those names and just take a moment. Let's just have a moment of silence for all of those and for the loved ones and the family that they all leave behind. Thank you. And with that, having concluded the business of this meeting today, this meeting is adjourned. Friendly reminder that we have a Board of Governors meeting tomorrow at 9 a.m. where someone else will stand up here and talk, and that we are asking all past presidents to stay here today so that we can get a photograph. And you are welcome that I gave you extra time in your day. Oh, and you need to leave your clicker.
The roll, gather my roll.